We just had a little hiccup there, technical difficulties. What's going on, everybody? This is Jared with Self Mastery for Men. Welcome to this 3-day workshop on creating your New Year's resolution, the New Year's challenge. And so I want to give everybody a chance to break in here today, to log in. If you guys are here live, go ahead and comment live in the chat. If you guys are here watching the replay, comment replay here in the chat. And I got my phone here, I got my laptop screen here. I'll be able to see all the comments here and we'll be able to do some interaction here. So what is this all about? Well, what this is all about is about you stepping into the next version of yourself in the new year. And the truth is, like, to be quite honest, and here's the ironic thing about it, I actually don't care too much for New Year's resolutions. And you'll see that here in this video, in this live here today. But what I do care about is you guys getting your outcomes and you guys becoming the best version of yourself in this new year. And I figure, hey, let's capitalize on it because it's the 21st today, December 21st. Christmas is coming up, January's coming up. We might as well take this time and take advantage of it while everybody's doing it, while it's in the air, so to speak, and really create what we want our lives to be all about. So who here is up for that? Comment here in the comment section below if you're down, if you're ready to make it happen. And let's do it. So let me take a look at my laptop screen here because I got the Facebook Live going here. I got the chat room here. I'm trying to make sense of this all. A little bit technologically challenged here. I see Aleem. What's up, Aleem? Good to see you, man. There we go. Now I got the chat going. So we have Aleem there. We have a few more people here live. Good to see you guys. So let's dive in. What is this all about here today? Well, today is all about actually creating the identity of who it is that you want to be. And the reason why I say that is because most people, when they create a New Year's resolution, what do? According to Forbes, the number one New Year's resolution is people want to lose weight. They want to get in better shape. They want to eat better. They want to save more money. This is actually on Forbes, what the top New Year's resolutions are for people. But comment below in the chat. Maybe you would have saw this already with some of the other stuff that I posted, but I'm actually curious. When it comes to people actually following through on their New Year's resolutions, how many people do you think actually succeed? So if you have it below, comment below, how many people do you think actually succeed in achieving their New Year's resolutions every year? So I'm going to take a look at some of the responses here. About 15% from Aleem. Yeah, about 15-20%. Here's the facts, guys. 80% of people fail on their goals, on their New Year's resolutions. But they don't just fail, like, it's not 80% of people fail by next year. 80% of people fail by February, guys. So that means everybody starts out in January with all of these great ideas, all these big visions, but then within 30 days, half the people drop off, don't they? Have you seen it where you say, hey, I want to, get in better shape. You go to the gym, and then by February, all of a sudden, the gym is empty again, right? So why does this happen? Why does this actually happen? Well, in my estimation, this happens because what people do is they're focusing on doing actions instead of becoming who they want to be. They're focused on doing actions instead of becoming the person they're meant to become. And whenever you do something, and whenever you're trying to create a habit, but it's not ingrained in you, whenever you're trying to create something new, and it's not actually who you are inside, you're actually going up against resistance. Does that make sense? So the goal here isn't just to create a whole bunch of tasks. It's not to create a whole bunch of to-do lists or pie-in-the-sky ideas. It's actually about you becoming the version of yourself that steps into this every single day of your life, and you can create a consistent, lasting, and continuously improving change in your life. So who here's up for that? See a few more people joining us. What's up, Charlie? Good to see you, man. Happy to have everybody here today. So logistics of today. What we're going to do here today is do a goal setting workshop. This isn't just me going to be talking at you, although it's Facebook Live, we're doing it live, I'm going to be chatting most of the time. But I want this to be something that's interactive, where you guys have pen, you have paper. We take this time, we all have busy lives, don't we? So we might as well take this time here today to put pen to paper and decide who it is that we want to be. So we'll do that here together. Also, when I ask you guys questions, comment in the chat. Let me know, answer the questions, participate in the exercises, because this is how we're going to get the results. So who here's up for committing for playing full out here today, to commenting in the chat, and to doing the work here today instead of so you don't have to procrastinate, do it later. Who's up for that right now? Say yes in the chat. All right, fantastic. So let's do it. So I want to check in. I want to check in with you guys. If you were to create the next level of yourself, what do you guys want in the new year? What do you guys want? Do you want better health? Do you want better relationships? Do you want a better job or a better career? Do you want to step into this new version of you? If you were to ask yourself, if in 2023, if in this next year coming up, I could have whatever it is that I wanted, comment below, what would it be that you want? What do you really want? And let me know here in the comment section below. Love to read a couple of these out. Because what I've seen from coaching multiple men, from coaching people of all walks of life, from working with people, is what men want and what people want in general is there's this version of themselves that they know they're capable of inside, but they know that there's so much more than they're demonstrating. They know there's this version of themselves inside, but if they could only figure out how to get that out. Now that doesn't have to necessarily mean that things are bad for you. What that could mean is things are good and you know there's another level, but what that can also mean is like, hey, there's some stuff I really need to work on. I got to fix this right now. So if you were to say, what is your next level in life? Comment below, what is that for you? And we'll start to work on that here today. So Charlie, well, I don't want to call people's names out, but we see fulfilling, meaningful work, deep personal relationships. Yeah, we have health, more income, better relationships. These are all fantastic things that we want to have, and these are all great things because this implies there's another level, another version of ourselves. But here's the crazy thing, guys. Have you ever woke up from a lucid dream before, where you're in a dream and everything kind of seems normal at first, but then what happens is you go, wait a minute, like you kind of wake up but you're still sleeping, and you go, wait a minute, over there's an elephant and he's juggling. That's kind of where you wake up, and then all of a sudden, once you wake up, nothing seems real anymore. Well, that's kind of what happens in our regular everyday life. What happens is we kind of go through life on autopilot, don't we? We go through autopilot based on the beliefs, on the conditionings, on the habits that we've done the day before, and we don't even question these sometimes. And sometimes they're not even ours, are they? Right? How many people here just copy what their mom and dad did because that's what they did? Or how many people here just kind of do what they do every day because they fell into it? I know for a while, when I was a kid, I had this dream of being a professional wrestler. That was my dream, and I actually did achieve it later on in life. But what started happening was I went to school, I grew up, I got a job, I worked at Walmart as the cart pusher, right? And it was just like you're trying to survive, trying to get through, and the dream is somewhere out there in the future, and you keep putting it off to some other day. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before, but there's a book called The Alchemist. Have you guys ever read a book called The Alchemist that's by Paulo Coelho? It's a book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's a great book. And what this guy is, it's the story of a shepherd, and he has this dream to make it to the pyramids of Egypt, right? And he does all of this stuff. He does all this stuff to get to the pyramids. But along the way, he meets this guy. He meets the shopkeeper. And the shopkeeper also wants to go to Egypt, right? But he asks the shopkeeper, he goes, why is it taking you so long to do it? He goes, because I know that if I actually go to Egypt, then I would have fulfilled the goal. There's nothing for me to look forward to, right? So he spent his entire life thinking about what it is that he wanted, putting it out there in the future, but never actually having the intention of fulfilling on it full time, because if he did, he wouldn't have a reason for living. Does that make sense? So let's not be like that shopkeeper. Let's be like the person that actually takes the steps every day to get what it is that you want. So we saw in the chat room, people want to have fulfilling, meaningful work, deep personal relationships, health, more income, better relationship, things like that. Those are fantastic. So now what do we have to do to make that happen? Well, the reason why those other New Year's resolutions in the past didn't work or didn't stick, or why they all failed by February, is because if you take a look at it, they all had to do with what? They all had to do with doing something. They all had to do with creating a habit or like an action of some kind. I want to eat healthier, so they have to actually do the thing. I want to go to the gym more. I want to save more money. So these are all things that you have to create. But what I've discovered over time is whenever you try to act or create something new, if it goes against who you believe you are or against your conditioning, it's not going to last very long. So what we don't want to focus on is actions here. What we want to focus on is who do you actually have to become in order to get to what you want. So we're not going to focus on actions. We're going to focus on who do you have to become to be the next level version of yourself so you guys can get what you want. Because if you think about it, when you ask, how do I get something, right? And that's usually the number one thing that people ask, is they ask, okay, well, here's my goal. I want to lose more weight. How do I get that? I got to go to the gym. I got to eat healthier. I got to be super strict. But what do they usually do? They make these big giant declarations, don't they? And they go, it's all or nothing. They create these rules where they go, in order for me to get in shape, or in order for me to lose the weight I want to lose or get the job I want to get, I got to go all in. And it's like I have to wake up at 5 a.m. I got to do a 10-hour morning routine. I got to go to the gym for 3 hours every single day. And they make it insurmountable. And the second they miss one day, they go off the wagon. They go, I failed. I knew it wasn't going to work anyway. And they go right back to the way it used to be. Who here has experienced that before? I'm not judging anybody. This was me. My girlfriend used to make fun of me because I was the king of declarations. I was like the king of declarations. I'd be like, today is the day that I'm going to finally go to the gym. And I would go, but I'd wake up at like 11 a.m. in the morning. I was exhausted. And I'd do it, and then I wouldn't do it anymore. Or I'd even have to declare, I'm like, today, it's time to have fun now. And my girlfriend's like, you don't declare that you have fun and then start having fun. You just experience fun, right? I used to be the declaration guy. So it's not about big giant declarations, it's just keeping promises to yourself. And maybe write that down, right? Just maybe write that down. You guys becoming what you want to become in the new year isn't about a big giant declaration. It's just about you making and keeping promises to yourself. It's just about making and keeping promises to yourself. No matter how big or how small. And I recommend you actually start small with it. Because when you can start to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you do what you say and you keep promises to yourself, there's a certain level of internal trust that comes with that. Does that make sense? And when you get that internal sense of trust, that builds certainty, and that certainty will build a habit, and that'll build an identity over time. But here's what most people do. They go, here's what I want. How do I get it? And they create the list. They go, I want to create a business. How do I create the business? And they go, oh man, I got to create a product, sell something, go here, advertise. And what they're doing is they're creating all sorts of actions for themselves, aren't they? But the actions aren't coming from an anchored, centered, grounded place. They're coming from like desperation and anxiety, or trying to prove yourself, or trying to get validation. Does that make sense? So how is actually a BS question. Because how many times have you asked the question, how am I going to do that? Somebody asks something of you, go, hey, can you go do this? How am I supposed to do that? When you ask, how am I supposed to do that, or how do I do that, it can be framed as a positive thing, but also there's a lot of times where the how is actually subconsciously being like, well, how am I supposed to do that? It's almost implying that you can't. Does that make sense? So when you get stuck on the how, sometimes that's a BS question, because that gets you stuck in perfection. And when you're stuck in perfection, that's actually a really fancy way to procrastinate, because perfection you can't actually achieve, can you? It doesn't exist in the world. So if you're waiting for perfection to start, like, how am I going to make it perfect? That's holding you back because you're actually afraid you're going to fail. And if you fail, you'll be rejected. And if you're rejected, you feel like you're worthless. So how is a BS question sometimes? But I'm going to share with you guys right now the questions that I ask in order to get your life to the next level. So here are the questions, not exactly how am I going to make it happen. How is one of the questions, but it's the last one. So if you want to go ahead and write this down, here are the questions that I would recommend you begin to ask yourself. And we'll do them here in the group here together. But the first question is you want to ask yourself, what exactly do I want? So the first question you want to ask yourself is, what exactly do I want? Because ironically enough, people don't know what they want all the time, do they? What people know is what they don't want. You ask somebody what they want, and I do this when I coach people all the time. I'm like, hey, what's your goal? And they go, I don't want to be depressed anymore. And I go, I know you don't want to be depressed anymore. What do you want? Ah, man, I don't want to keep living the way I'm living. Things have to change. I go, I know that things have to change, but what does that mean? What do you want? I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be out of shape. I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to work at this job anymore. And they can go on this rant of all the things that they don't want. But how often do you actually know what it is that you do want? Because as long as you're setting up your life on what it is that you want to avoid, here's the tricky thing, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow when we actually create the goals and the ideas and the targets that we're going to hit. But in reality, whatever you resist persists. Whatever you focus on, you get more of. So if you're like, I don't want to be disrespected, or I don't want to be fat, or I don't want to continue being in debt, what you're doing is you're taking like your big giant blinders and you're focused on the problem. I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to do this. And you're focused on the problem. And what that, if you ever take two mirrors and turn it in on each other, the mirror just keeps infinitely looping. So you turn your focus onto what you don't want, and you're focused on it, and you're trying to avoid it. But the more you try to avoid it, the more you keep creating that experience. Does that make sense? So what we want to get in the habit of doing right now is not focus on what we don't want, but what we actually do want. And I ask people this all the time. I still do, but primarily my coaching practice was coaching professional athletes. And I would ask these guys, well, what do you guys want? They go, I just want to make it. I just want to make it to their sport of choice. And I would say, yeah, but what does making that mean to you? Oh, I just want to play the game, and I want to make the game my life. And I said, but you've already achieved that. They go, what do you mean? I go, even if you're practicing is the game your life, is that all you're focused on every day? Is it your life right now? What does making it mean? Making it could mean making the team on your local level. Making it could mean making it to the NBA. Making it could mean a lot of things. So what does actually making it mean? They're not able to define specifically what it is. So that's what I want you guys to start doing, is start to think specifically, what is it that I want? Not just what I don't want, but what is it that I actually want, so you can begin to take steps towards that. So comment below, what would it be that you guys actually want right now? What is it that you want? We have fulfilling, meaningful work, deep personal relationships, health, more income, better relationships. But the question is, how would you know when you had it? How would you know when you had it? If you say, I want to have more income, which is one of the things that people chatted about. Having more income could be you have your end of year review and they give you a $5 raise total. And you technically made more income, didn't you? So you got to really figure out, what level of wealth do I want to create? What level of health do I want to create? What does a deep personal relationship mean to you? How would you know if you had it? Would a deep personal relationship, would the rules for that be, I would contact them on the phone, 3 times a week? Would that be we spend quality time together? Depending on how you actually set that up, you need to know what it is you want, and you'd have to know how you would know when you got it. Does that make sense? Who here follows me so far, just comment. I want to take a breath. I see we had a bunch more people join us right now. I just want to check in the comment section below if you guys are still with me and what you're getting from this so far. So awesome. So now that's the first 2 questions is, what is it that I want and how would I know when I have it? But now the third level of question is, who do I have to become in order to get it? Who do I have to become in order to get the thing that I want? Does that make sense? So if you want to have great relationships, but the person that you are right now is not somebody that's very confident, is not somebody that even puts yourself out there, doesn't even have a relationship in your field of vision, right? Maybe you're timid or afraid to talk to girls, maybe you have a nice guy syndrome or something like that. Who do you have to become in order to create that relationship, right? It's not enough to just do magical thinking, right? And I'm all about magical thinking and manifestation, having stuff happen to you. I think that's cool, and sometimes it happens. But if you're saying, hey, I want to have great relationships just the way I am, and I'm not going to do anything, you're in for a problem, right? Does that make sense? If you say, I want to be in great shape, but you consider yourself to be someone that's lazy, out of gas, your prime is over, that's not going to get you the result that you want. So really a big part of this is, who do I have to become in order to get the things that I want? That was the big shift for me. And I'll share with you guys more of my story. And I want to let you know, just sincerely from my heart, whenever I share with you my story, it's not because I almost didn't want to do coaching, and I almost didn't want to do stuff online like this, because I'm a guy, I'm a normal dude. Who am I to tell anybody how to live their life, right? But if I ever share a story, it's because I lived it with personal experience, and I think you guys would get something from that. Is that fair? So what happened in my own life is, I was in a situation where I was overweight, I was in debt, I got divorced, my relationships were in shambles, and I was blaming everybody else. And I thought that my life was completely over at that point. But I started asking myself, well, what do I want? What are the reasons why? How would I know when I get it? And who do I have to become in order to get that? And that was the shift. Because it's not enough to just know what it is you want or know what it is to do, but you have to actually embody and become that person. And when you embody and become that person, the rest of it becomes easy. But guys, no joke, no lie, I lost 80 pounds by changing I am a bodybuilder. Just by changing the identity. Who do I have to become? I have to become a bodybuilder. Doesn't mean that I have to go be Jay Cutler, Mr. Olympia, but the mental shift, who do I have to become? I am now a bodybuilder. That got me everything that I needed to do, because when I identified as who I had to become, I started to act as if. I started to eat different foods. I started to make different habits. I started keeping promises to myself. Remember I said before, if you create a New Year's resolution, but it's not how you identify yourself, you're not going to make it happen. This is what I mean. If your identity is something along the lines of, I can't get in shape, I'm lazy, I can't get what I want, I can't get a relationship, I'm nervous, you see? But then that's your goal, you're not going to get it because your goal is against what you identify with. But if you begin to identify as, I am a bodybuilder, I am an attractive man, I am a man that has great connections and great relationships, you'll start to act as if, and you're going to be congruent, and you're going to get your goals a lot easier because you're getting who you are. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. Write that one down, possible. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. Does that make sense? So that is another major question I ask is, who do I have to become in order to get what I want? Now, the next question that I ask is, what are the reasons why? What are the reasons why that I want what I want and I need to become this guy? And I would use leverage on myself in a couple different ways. Now, some people respond differently to different things, but I would get all of the reasons as to why I want to have this. And I would do two different versions of this. I used to beat myself up badly. Like, you got to do this. If you don't, you're a failure. If you don't, you're a loser. Look at all this stuff. You're going to be dead in the ditch somewhere if you don't change it now. And that works a little bit, but that also just beats the crap out of yourself, and it lowers your level of energy, and it makes it really hard to sustain stuff long term because you end up becoming your own worst enemy. So I use a little bit of that now. I'm like, well, if things stay the same way they are right now, that's going to be painful. So I use a little bit of that to move away from it. But I also create the reasons why I want it in terms of what that would create for my life. If I do this, I would become the best version of myself. If I do this, it would mean the next level. I would become this guy. It would mean this to me. I would feel this way. It would contribute to others in this way. So you get all of the reasons why. So that way it's just not, oh, I want to save some more money in the new year, right? Who cares? There's no reason why. I want to save more money in the new year. Who do I need to become? I need to become a wise investor. What are the reasons why? Well, because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to retire. But if I do, I'm going to be financially free. I'm going to be able to do whatever it is that I want. I'm going to be able to create a savings or a legacy for my children, right? So these reasons are what pulls you towards what it is that you want. Does that make sense, guys? So it's, what do you specifically want? How would you know when you got it? Because that's important. Who do you need to become to get it, and the reasons why you want it. Then the reasons why you want it. That's going to get you motivated to move forward. And then so the fourth question I ask myself is, well, what are the resources that I need? So it's reasons and now it's resources. So the way I would do it is you got the two W's, you got the what and the who. And within the what, you also want to know how you're going to know when you get it. You get the two R's, you got reasons and resources. So what do I mean by resources? Resources are, let's say you know what you want, right? So for example, in the chat right there, someone says, I want to make $300,000 a year, no longer an employee, but support myself through my business. That's one of the goals there in the chat. What you would say next is, how would I know when I get it? So he knows it's $300,000 in the bank. I'm not an employee anymore. I support myself, right? So his criteria is he supports himself and he's making this much money. He has the target. So now it's, who do I need to become? I am a business owner. I am an entrepreneur. I am financially free. I am a wise investor. Whatever that is, it creates the I am, right? Does that make sense? And then the reasons why, right? So he'll come up with the reasons why, but next is the resources. Because that's going to eliminate the how am I supposed to do this? And you throw your hands up in the air. What you start to ask yourself is, what resources do I already have? What resources do I already have around me? Either books on the shelf, or programs that I've signed up for, or friends that I know, or mentors I could work with, or something that I could read or study or do. What resources do I need in order to get that, right? So that was something for me. When I wanted to lose weight, I used to be a professional athlete years ago, and I got married, my life fell apart, I stress ate like crazy, I gained all the weight back, and I go, what do I want? I want to lose weight. Who do I need to become? I am a bodybuilder. I am a healthy person. Why? Because I'm not going to be the guy who's overweight in his 70s and had all this potential and never made it. No, I really want to become this ideal version of myself. Okay, cool. What resources do I need? Oh, well, I used to know what to do, but what I need is, I'm going to read this book that I read years ago called Burn the Fat, Feed the Muscle, because it was the most healthy, most aligned way to get in shape that I remember. And that really helped me back then. What else do I need? I need to get a diet coach, because it's not that I need the coach, but what's actually going to happen is he's going to keep me accountable every week, and I'm going to have to give him a progress photo. So I need to go get myself a coach to be able to do that. Does that make sense? And I hired that guy. But who here does that make sense in terms of what specifically you want, how you know when you're going to get it, who do you need to become, the reasons why, and then the resources that you need? Comment below. I'm going fast because I want to keep this to about 45 minutes to an hour. But let me know if this makes sense for you so far in the chat room below. So far, what has been your biggest takeaway? What's been your biggest aha moment? What's been the biggest thing that's opened your eyes here so far? And take a sip of water. And I want to take a look here in the chat for you guys' responses here. So I see Aleem says, yep. I see Mike. I see Charlie. I see Jimmy. What's up, Jimmy? Good to see you guys. So what's your biggest takeaway so far from this? Comment in the chat what the biggest takeaway is. Then we'll continue on. So after you do all of that, then the only question is how. But you've already done so much work on the front end that now the how becomes easy. Because between the what, the how you know when you're going to get it, the reasons as to why, the who you're going to become, the resources that you need, now it just becomes very, very, very simple in order to get what it is that you want. Because you just got to figure out, what are the actions that I have to do every day in order to get that, right? So, what's the biggest takeaway you guys have gotten so far? Comment in the chat below, and then we'll continue on. Now, how do we actually embody this? Because it's one thing to know. It's one thing to know this. And let's see, the biggest takeaway, remember that I have resources that I need, and then use them. Yeah. How many times, guys, do we have like a book on the shelf that we, and they're really good marketing, right? So they actually make these book titles where you feel like you get the results just by buying it, right? There's one book, it's called I Will Teach You How to Be Rich, and you buy it, you're like, yeah, I'm rich now, right? But you got to read the book. But sometimes, how many people have had a book on the shelf and never read it? That's why they call it shelf help, right? So yeah, you have so many resources at your disposal right now, just start using them. And if you don't have resources, you know where to go to find them. If you don't know how to invest, find an investing mentor, or investing course, or a CPA or something, or or a financial advisor. You do that. But yeah, that's a big step in the right direction. So, how do we make all this stuff happen? How do we actually make it real and go from having a plan in our head, and you're like, hey Jared, this was great. I wrote this list. I have an idea of what I want, who I want to be, all this stuff. But how do I actually make this real? Well, there's a book. You guys know Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously, the greatest bodybuilder of all time. He was a fantastic movie star. He has a book called The Education of a Bodybuilder. So Arnold Schwarzenegger has a book called The Education of a Bodybuilder. And in that book, he talked about how he made his plans real. I read this book years ago, but this always stuck with me. And he goes, he won Mr. Olympia, I think 5 or 6 times. Mr. Olympia is like, there's Mr. USA or whatever. There's the local competition, then there's the national competition, and there's like the world competition. Mr. Olympia is like the best of the best of the best, and he won it 5 or 6 times. But he didn't win it by accident. There's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics where it says they took people that played basketball and they had them imagine doing free throws, right? And the people that imagined doing free throws had amazing, incredible success in the rate of which they got better. So it's like actual visual imagination of doing it is sometimes enough to get you some significant results, especially if you haven't experienced stuff before. Because let me ask you, have you ever had a dream before? I know we talked about lucid dreams. Have you ever had a dream before where it seemed real? Where it seemed so real that you woke up or felt physical sensations or sweat, or maybe you got excited, right, from the dream. But it's an imagination, isn't it? But the crazy thing is the brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So sometimes even the imagination, if you do it vividly enough, can get you into the momentum of doing something, get you used to doing something, become visual rehearsal or mental rehearsal. And it's especially useful if you've never experienced the thing before in real life, because it fires off the same stuff in your brain as if it was really happening. Does that make sense? So getting back to Arnold, what Arnold said is that he won Mr. Olympia 5,000 times in his head before he ever stepped on stage once. Arnold Schwarzenegger won Mr. Olympia 5,000 times in his head before he ever stepped on stage once. And that really opened my eyes in a lot of ways, because it showed me mental rehearsal in a way that I hadn't heard before, where you really actually embody this. And so this is what I did to give you like actually how I did this in my life and how this actually worked for me. About 3 years ago, and ironically enough, I have all my old journals here from previously, right? And every couple of years I write down what I want, who I need to become, what's going to be the next level for myself. And here's the thing, I told you in the beginning, I don't care for New Year's resolutions because I think that's like kind of hypey. We're just doing it today because this is like the season that we're in. But I'm all about let's take stock at like regular intervals of where are we now, where do we want to go. So I have all my old notebooks, and I was reading a notebook from 2019, and it was really wild because you don't realize how far things can change if you put focused attention on it. My primary emotions, guys, like no joke, was depression, anxiety, feeling rejected all the time, not wanting to put myself out there, feeling, I think the biggest one was apathy and resignation, like nothing that I did worked. Like, could you imagine that, right? And that's where I was, and my life conditions matched that. I told you I was 80 pounds overweight. I was well over 6 figures in debt. My relationship tanked. My ex was an alcoholic and addicted, and it just ruined everything. But I'm not blaming anybody, just the situation. But to get from where I was to where I am now, remember I asked you, or I told you, I said you have to have the reasons why? I did this process that we just talked about. This process right here is transformational if you do it. Because what I did is I asked myself, I got fed up, guys. I got so fed up a couple years ago, and I said, this is not who I am. I'm so much more than I'm demonstrating here. I have all this potential, but I don't want to be the guy that has, it's like when they say you're the best kept secret, it's great, but nobody knows about you, right? I didn't want to be the guy with potential. Like, I wanted to live the potential. And I got so frustrated. I'm like, if I don't change this now, there's no way out. Like, I got to change this now. It's got to be me. I got to make the change. And so what I did is I locked myself in a room, and I said, what do I really want? How would I know when I get it? What reasons do I want to have that? Who do I need to become in order to get that, right? But what I did is I actually shut my eyes, and I put myself about 3 years, 4 years in the future when I already had what it is that I wanted. And I imagined myself, because like when things were the way they were before, they were bleak. Does that make sense? There was no way out. Like my debit card was getting declined if I wanted to go get a hamburger. So they were bleak. But what I had to ask myself was, what do I want? Who do I need to become? Let me picture that. And it was like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I pictured if I already had this, if I already became this guy, if I had the potential, how would I show up every day? Who would I be? And I visualized it. And I allowed it to come into my body of how I stood and how I carried myself and how I dressed and how I walked and how I moved and how I talked, and the habits I did every day. And what I did is I pulled it out of the sky, right, out of my mind, and I put it on a piece of paper. And that's how I came with those questions, essentially. But I pulled it out of the sky and put it onto the piece of paper, and then I started doing that every single day. Does that make sense? So who here's up for doing something like that right now? Who here's up for actually taking the time, visualizing who it is that you want to become, pulling it onto the paper, and then having your action plan right there? And we'll take about 10-15 minutes to do that here today. And here's the cool thing. We're on Facebook Live. I'm the one that's doing the talking. You don't have to be embarrassed. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. And it's not going to be some woo-woo stuff. I'm just going to ask you to imagine what it is that you really want. Can you guys see how this is so much more powerful than December 31st or December 30th? What do I want? More money, health, better relationship. Hope it works, right? Can you see why this would be more effective than the typical way of New Year's resolutions? And you can do this whenever you want. When you get the hang of this, guys, this can be something that you can do for the rest of your life. Every 4 months, every quarter, every half a year, every year. You can keep upgrading yourself. Because if you guys ever had an iPhone, right, or a cell phone, if you didn't upgrade the software, it wouldn't work today, right? If you have the original, you got to upgrade the software every once in a while. So that's what this is. This is just constantly upgrading because, like I said, 3 years ago I was there. I'm not there anymore. But if I still live my life based on what I was 3 years ago, I'd never move forward. And 90% of the things that we think about every day, or 90% of the habits that we do every day, is the stuff we did, is the stuff we did the day before, but we're just not aware of it. It's our autopilot. So we want to interrupt the autopilot here today. Right? Does that make sense? Who's up for that? So just give me a yes or a thumbs up in the section there, and I'll lead you guys through this. So first of all, we were going at a pretty good speed here before. What I'm going to ask you to do before we actually begin this is take that piece of paper, and if you haven't done so already, I really encourage that you do so. But write down, number one, what do I want to make happen? Right? What am I committed to making happen in the new year? What am I committed to making happen in the new year? What's the next level of life on my terms? So go ahead, take a moment and write that down. What are you committed to making happen? Are you committed to using the resources you already have? Are you committed to getting in the best shape of your life? Are you committed to having a passionate relationship that's fulfilling and loving? Are you committed to starting a new business or getting more income that you ever created before? Maybe you're committed to being the best father to your kids. Maybe there's a goal or a dream that you have, but what are you committed to making happen this year? We're like, that's it, enough is enough. I'm not going to settle for being potential. I'm going to live my potential. Write down, what are you committed to making happen this year? And then as you do that, write down what needs to happen, or how would I know when I get it? How would I know when I would get it? So create the evidence procedure as to how you would know. I would have this much thing, I'd have that much there. This would be the measurement. So you know when you'd have it. Just take a moment and do that. How would you know when you get it? And now the third question you're going to want to ask yourself, and write this down, is what's been in the way? What's been preventing me? What's been the biggest challenge, or what's been in the way of getting what I really want so far? Has it been your mindset? Has it been the access to resources? Has it just been your habits? Has it been not knowing how? Has it not been having somebody to work with? What are the reasons, or what's been in the way, or what's the wall been as to why you don't have this already? What's been in the way? And it's important to really acknowledge that and put that on paper. So what's been in the way of you getting what you want so far? So go ahead and write that down. And when you have it, give you guys another couple seconds. And this will be on replay, so if you guys need to go back and watch this again, you can do that. But the next question is, if I am to really step in, if I'm to really step in to this next version of myself, who would I need to become? How would I need to define myself? What type of person do I need to become in order to have the life I just wrote down here? And take a moment and write that down. Do you have to be more fun and playful? Would you have to be more expressive? Would you have to identify as an entrepreneur, a business owner, or an investor? Would you have to identify as a bodybuilder or a healthy person? What would you have to identify yourself as? Who do you need to become in order to get that? So go ahead and take a moment and write that down. Who do I need to become next? What's the next level for me as a person? Then take a moment and write down, why do I want it? What are all the reasons why? Why is this a must for me? If I don't do it, what's going to happen? And if I do, what would it be like if I actually did? Why do you guys want this? The reasons for it, the reasons that would prevent you from staying the way you're staying now. Write down the reasons that are going to move you forward. And don't just beat yourself up. Also find the positive reasons too, because it's going to get me this. I'm going to experience that. It's going to mean this. I'm going to become that. So go ahead, take a moment to write that down. I'll give you the overview of this again. It's what are you committed to making happen? How would you know that you get it? What's been in the way, or what's been preventing you, or what's been the biggest challenge so far in your way to getting it? Who do I need to become now in order to get that? And then you list out the reasons why you want it and what it would be like to actually get it. So go ahead and write that down now. And you guys at this point should have a really good idea and a direction of where it is that you want to go, don't you? So go ahead, comment yes, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Come on, I want to see you guys there if you're there. Comment thumbs up if you guys have written that down, if you have a really clear direction on where it is you want to go now. A lot more than you had before. So go ahead and comment below, give me a thumbs up, give me a like or a heart or something. Let me know that you're with me. Now you guys have that down. And then what we're going to do here next is we're going to just shut our eyes for a moment and put ourselves into it. So we're going to shut our eyes for a moment. We're going to put ourselves into it. So really this is just going to be like you imagining or you visualizing. And if you guys have a hard time visualizing, don't worry about it, because everybody thinks in a different way. Some people think in pictures, right? The people that don't think in pictures, like, wait a minute, I don't think in pictures. That's because some people think in internal dialogue or words. So for you, it just might be hearing what's going on. It might be you talking to yourself in your head. That's good too. Some people, they're all about like feelings and emotions. So maybe for you, you don't get a picture, maybe you don't hear anything, but maybe you can feel the feelings of what it would be like. Does that make sense? So when I say visualization, I don't mean you have to have a crystal clear television like picture, but either picture it or hear what's happening or have some internal dialogue or feel what it would feel like. Does that make sense? Because we're going to do some mental rehearsal right now of you going into the future, about 6 months to a year in the future, and what would it be like if you actually had it, and then bring it forward to today. Okay, so who's up for that? Let's do it. So in a moment here, I'm going to ask you, put your feet on the floor, put your hands on your knees, take a deep breath in, breathe out, and whenever you're ready, just notice your eyelids. Go ahead and make them nice and light. And go ahead and close your eyes. And here's the amazing thing, guys. You just wrote down your new life. You just wrote down the next level version of yourself. This is so much more work than other people do. You're already 90% ahead of the game. Because most people, they just write down resolutions or they write down things that they want, or they write down a wish list, or like they're hoping for Santa or something like that. You guys actually wrote down a really well thought out plan of what specifically it is that I want, what's been in the way, how would you know, who do you need to become, and all the reasons why you want it. So you guys are already so much more ahead, and all we're going to do right now is make that even better. So what we're going to do right now is go ahead and for a moment, I want you to imagine, now that you know exactly what it is that you want, here's who I need to become, here's what I want, here's the reasons why. I want you to go ahead and imagine yourself, just fast forward yourself in your own body to where it's already 6 months in the future. It's already 6 months in the future. It's already 6 months in the future, and you have achieved this already, or you're well on the way to getting it. And you can feel good now because you know and you notice that everybody else has already dropped off by February, but you're still going, aren't you? Because it wasn't just a to-do list, it was who you became. And you notice just how proud you feel and how good it feels, and you see the progress every day, and you're so happy because it's not the things that you get that make you happy, it's who you're getting to become along the way that makes you happy. Because the progress equals that happiness and fulfillment. And go ahead and imagine yourself 6 months into the future, and you're already well on the way or have already achieved this now. And looking through your own eyes, go ahead and see what you see when you've already achieved this. See what you see when you've already achieved this. Hear what you would hear as if you're in your own body. Make it real. Hear the sounds, hear the compliments, hear your internal dialogue, hear whatever's happening around you when you've already achieved this. And feel what you feel when it's 6 months in the future and you've already accomplished this. Feel what it feels like 6 months in the future when you've already done this. And ask yourself, how does it feel? What does it mean to you? Who have you become now? And what does it feel like now that you're actually on the way, or you've actually already got it? And feel that now and double the intensity. And looking through your own eyes, see it even more. Embody it. Feel what you feel when it's done. Hear what you hear when it's already happening. And notice how good you feel. That's right. You're doing great. Yeah, and notice that smile starting to come up on your face as well. Or if you're not smiling, don't smile. No matter what, don't smile. Don't enjoy this. And now, just to make it even better, imagine yourself 1 full year in the future from right now. 1 full year in the future from right now. It is a year to the day of when we did this exercise, and you lived an entire year of this, where you had the clear action. You knew exactly what it is that you wanted. You had the target, because that's the only way you're going to hit it. You're not going to hit the target by not knowing what you don't want. You're going to hit the target by knowing what you do want. So you've hit the target. You've been committed. You've become the person. You've acted as if every single day. You knew why you wanted it, and it's become real for you. Go 1 full year in the future from today. And really see it. Look through your own eyes and see what you see. And see the sights and see yourself in the mirror. See your bank account. See your relationship. See whatever it is for you. And be proud. Be happy. And hear what you hear when you've already accomplished this. Hear what you hear when it's already done. Hear the compliments. Hear yourself and your internal dialogue telling you how great it is. Hear the congratulations. Hear the laughter on your partner or your friend's face. and really feel what it feels like in your body. Internalize the feelings and make it feel even better. Notice how good it feels, notice the sensations, and notice where it is in your body. And go ahead and allow that to get even stronger now. And realize that this is who you really are, isn't it? This is what your life is all about. This is who you're meant to become. And while you're here, go ahead and imagine yourself looking at yourself in the mirror a year from now, where you've already got what it is that you wanted. Go ahead and imagine yourself now, notice the mirror, and see yourself in the mirror. And really take it in. Notice yourself. How are you standing? What's your face like? What's your body language like? How are you dressed? How do you walk? How do you move when this is who you really are? What do you say to yourself in your own head? What do you believe is true about yourself and life when you're here? What's possible for yourself from this state? And notice all the things about yourself right now. Because if you can notice it and you can feel it now, that means it's already a part of you, isn't it? It's just a part of you that we have to let out more now. So before we come back, fully experience this now, but notice everything about this guy that you've become just by taking the next step every day, by keeping promises to yourself, little or big, by honoring your own word, by knowing what you wanted, by taking the steps every day, by becoming and acting as if, not just a resolution, not just a to-do list, not just something that's like, I hope I get this, but you made it a part of your very being. And just let yourself know, all I need to do to become this is what? All I need to do to become this is what? All I need to remember is what? All I need to do and all I need to remember is what? And go ahead and get a sense of that right now. And what we're gonna do is, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, we're gonna imagine yourself going from that as if it's like a timeline, right? As if like there's like a film strip or it's a timeline. You're gonna go from 1 year in the future and allow yourself to rewind all the way back to today. Only there's one special catch. What you're gonna do is fill in that timeline or fill in that film strip with light or with color or with all of the experiences all the way back to now, which led you to becoming this guy. What we're going to do here in a moment is, as you are in the future right now, a year, you're going to imagine yourself coming back in time. Either you experience it in your body or you imagine it, or you watch like a film strip or something, and you just notice yourself rewinding all the way back to now. But as you rewind to now, you're filling in, you're experiencing, you're lighting up the film strip, and you're creating all of the events all the way up to the subsequent final moment there in a year when you've already achieved this, as if it's already done. You're already installing this into your life right now. So go ahead and, as quickly or as slowly as you need, go ahead and come on back to now. And imagine yourself coming all the way back to now. Only as quickly or as slowly as it takes for you to make all of the changes real now and integrate it all into your body. And when you know it's done, you take 3 deep breaths and come back into the room. When you know it's done and you know it's locked in, you take 3 deep breaths and come on back to the room. So take another moment. I can't actually see you because this is only me on the screen. But when you're back, take a deep breath. As you wake up, notice that it's never going to go back to the way it was before. This is locked in. You know it's done. And when you're back in the room, give me a thumbs up. And let me know you're ready to rock. Coming on back into the room now. Taking a deep breath in. Knowing that it's done. Opening your eyes, coming on back now. I see Ryan giving me the big hand sign there. How was that? So comment below, guys. I'm actually really curious. Who would like to share, or who here got something from that exercise? Who here had an eye-opening experience or just had a realization of some kind? So go ahead and comment in the comment section there. What did you take from that? What did you learn? What did you get? What's a takeaway or an aha? So go ahead and share that with us here. I'd love to take a few, because we've got about 5 more minutes here. I'd love to take some shares. But that's what this is all about, guys. Is about becoming and stepping into the version of yourself that you're really meant to be. It's so much more than just a resolution and a list of stuff you want to do. It's actually becoming this person. And can you guys see how much more useful, or how much more beneficial, or how much more real this can become if you do it from this place as opposed to just hoping that you make something happen? And how much more likely, if you were to step into this every day, what's going to happen in February when everybody else is already giving up? What are you going to do? You're going to keep going. And then what's going to happen when you keep going? And then what's possible for you if you keep coming at it from this place? This is how you do it, my friends. So comment below in the chat. Love to take some shares as to what you got from that. And then I'll give you guys a little bit of a, not a homework assignment. A homework, that's kind of lame. What we're going to do is I'll give you guys just an exercise to do to really make sure that you lock this in. And you really get the benefit of this here today. So comment below what's something you got from this, what's a share, what's something that was helpful. We'll just take a couple of shares before we go away. All right, so to give you guys some coming attractions. Tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this stuff that we just did. This is the heavy lifting that we just did. What we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to create the actual goals themselves. I know you have an idea of who it is you want to become. I know you have the list. I know you have your outcomes. What we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to make sure and really dial in your targets and your outcomes to make sure that you get it. And we're going to help you build an action plan to get there, right? So tomorrow we're going to work together. We're going to do a workshop again, similar to this, a little bit different. But we're going to create the actual outcomes that you want. We're going to word it in such a way where you can actually make it happen. And we're going to help you create the action plan to get there. Because what most people do is they word their goals, they word their New Year's resolutions and intentions in a way that is counterproductive. So we're going to actually help you dial that in so it becomes a part of you and you can hit it very easily, and there's an action plan attached to it. So we're going to do that here tomorrow, but that's it here for today. For your exercise, if you're up to it, for your exercise, somewhere in this events page or somewhere in our Facebook group, the Self Mastery for Men Facebook group, make a post or comment on this video. What is your goal? What is it that you're looking to become here in the next year? And who do you have to become in order to get that? So what is it that you're going after? And who is it that you need to become in order to get that? And then comment, why are you committed? And comment, why are you committed? So go ahead and comment in this video when it's still up there, or comment in the group or in the event page what it is that you're going to be after this next year, who it is you need to become, and tell us why you're committed to actually getting it. So that's it for today, guys. Great work. It's been awesome hanging out and spending this time with you. This is Jared with Self Mastery for Men. I will see you right back here tomorrow at the same time, where we're going to do our goal setting workshop and pull that out and write it down on paper and create the plan. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.